Right now, about 80% of your IT budget isn't going toward innovation. It's actually being burned, literally set on fire, just to keep the lights on in systems that were built a decade ago.
Yeah, it's a massive drain.
It really is. It's this silent, massive
Yeah.
drain on your revenue, and it's happening right now while you listen to this. Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm Lex, and joining me is Vera, and we are your hosts from the C9 podcast show.
It's great to be here. We're unpacking a mountain of fascinating case data today, and I think it's really going to challenge how a lot of leaders view their daily operations.
Absolutely. And look, if you're tuning in right now, you are likely part of the incredible community of C9 followers joining us from the podcast feed or the business page.
Right.
Today, we're speaking directly to a very specific, highly critical audience. We're talking to Australian business owners and C-level executives.
Exactly, because whether you're running, say, a mid-market manufacturing firm or a national healthcare provider or even a rapidly growing agribusiness, we are looking at your tech stack today.
Yeah, our mission here is to take this stack of industry data and proven methodologies from C9 and really explore how aging technology platforms are, quietly eroding your competitive edge.
Well, we have to start by getting a really clear picture of what this actually looks like on the ground. Because before we can talk about software solutions or development, we need to properly classify the problem.
Right. Get to the root of it.
Exactly. We need to diagnose the specific disease that is currently plaguing so many Australian SMEs and mid-market companies. Basically, those organizations sitting roughly between, say, 15 and 500 employees.
So let's unpack the symptoms then. Because the data paints a picture that, well, it might feel uncomfortably familiar to you listening.
I'm sure it will.
A vast number of these businesses are running their core operations on systems built 10, maybe 15 years ago. And the tricky part is that the symptoms of this technical debt, they aren't usually catastrophic.
Which is exactly what makes it so insidious. It's rarely a spectacular server fire or, a blue screen of death that shuts down the entire company for a week.
Right, because when a system crashes completely, you fix it. You have to.
Exactly. The real danger lies in what the research calls invisible inefficiencies.
Oh, the friction.
Yes, the friction. It's your operations manager maintaining 3 parallel Excel spreadsheets just to get a basic monthly reconciliation report done.
Which is crazy.
Or it's manual data entry because your inventory system completely refuses to talk to your accounting software. Or it's a total lack of mobile access when your field team is actually out on site.
Yeah, and let's look at the financial mechanics of that friction for a second. Global data shows that maintaining these legacy systems consumes a staggering 60 to 80% of IT budgets.
Which is just wild.
Think about the opportunity cost there. Up to 80% of your capital is just acting as life support. It leaves almost nothing for actual innovation.
Right. And for businesses operating here in Australia, there are unique compounding hurdles on top of that. We deal with massive geographic spread, incredibly strict data sovereignty laws, and, the absolute necessity to integrate with localized financial tools like MYOB or as a debit.
It's like buying a beautifully restored heritage home. You walk in, and the 15-year-old electrical wiring technically works.
Yeah, you flip the switch, the lights turn on, so you just assume everything is totally fine.
Right. But the moment you try to plug in a modern high-powered espresso machine or, in a business context, when you try to integrate a modern mobile workforce, the breakers immediately trip. The whole system just overloads.
It completely gives up.
So let me pose a question to you. If the systems technically still function, if the lights are still turning on in the heritage home, why is inaction so dangerous?
Well, because the environment around that house is rapidly changing. And inaction triggers a cascade of secondary operational failures. First, you hit staff burnout. Your highly paid team is spending hours fighting the software instead of, executing their actual jobs.
Right.
Second, the compliance risks begin to mount. Operating on outdated architecture when you're subject to the Privacy Act and the notifiable data breaches scheme, well, it's like leaving the front door of that heritage house wide open.
That's a scary thought. But the absolute most dangerous risk
is letting your competition pull ahead, unquestionably. You leave the market wide open for competitors who do adopt modern technology.
Wow.
When we review the discovery session data from C9's client onboarding, This is usually the massive aha moment for executives. They suddenly realize that the hidden cost of "it works fine" is actually a direct tax on their market share.
Yeah. But look, if the house is actively catching fire because of old wiring, you would think fixing it would be straightforward, right? We know the disease.
You'd think so, yeah.
But the data shows that modernization projects are incredibly risky. What is happening between, the realization that the tech is broken and the failure to implement a new one? We really need to look at defining the problem at the decision-making level.
The statistics on this are sobering. I mean, IT project failure rates in Australia are genuinely alarming. 66% of technology projects end in partial or total failure.
Wait, 66%?
Yes. And if we look at large-scale enterprise-wide projects, they succeed less than 10% of the time.
Less than 10%. That is a terrifying metric for any C-level executive who's, looking down the barrel of a digital transformation.
It's brutal, but the root cause is almost entirely preventable. The failure rarely happens because the underlying code is inherently bad.
Okay, so why does it happen?
It happens because executives often delegate platform decisions entirely to the IT department or to external vendors. They hand over the checkbook, step away, and completely miss the operational realities of the business.
Ah, I see.
You get incredibly expensive decisions made in a vacuum, debates about choosing AWS versus Azure or custom builds versus out-of-the-box SaaS without ever mapping those technical choices back to actual business goals.
Wait, I have to push back on that a little bit. If I'm a CEO, my immediate reaction to a 66% failure rate is to delegate even harder.
Right, it's a natural instinct.
I don't speak the jargon. I don't know if I need an ASP.NET framework or a React front end. Isn't that exactly why I hired a CIO or an external IT firm? I'm supposed to give them the keys. Why is my delegation the problem?
That is the crux of the issue right there. The problem isn't the act of delegating itself. The problem is delegating without a translator.
A translator.
Yes, you shouldn't have to know what an ASP.NET framework is or care about how a database is clustered. But there needs to be a bridge between the boardroom's revenue goals and the server room's architecture.
Okay, that makes sense.
And looking at C9's methodology, this is how they specify the answer to the problem. Their entire approach is built on acting as that translator between complex technology and plain bottom-line business language.
So instead of throwing server specs at an executive, they translate the outcome.
Exactly.
Like moving to a cloud platform translates to achieving national scale without buying physical hardware.
Yes.
Or implementing Power BI translates to having real-time actionable insights instead of, guessing your quarterly projections.
Spot on. And a custom application translates to solving a highly specific, complex operational bottleneck that generic, off-the-shelf software simply cannot handle.
It changes the entire conversation.
It really does. C9's crucial first phase is something they call deep discovery and scoping. When their developers sit down with a business, they actually ask more questions than they answer.
Oh, that's interesting.
They aren't there to push a prepackaged tech stack immediately. They are auditing the business to ensure that whatever technology is ultimately chosen is fundamentally engineered to drive revenue growth and operational efficiency.
I love that concept. They're diagnosing the business before prescribing the software.
Precisely.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because we can move from the theory of translation into the reality of deciding what is right. We have a stack of case studies here showing how C9 has successfully mapped these exact business requirements into custom, localized solutions for over 18 years.
Yeah, let's look at those.
Let's look at the healthcare sector first, specifically Ozascribe and Monash Health.
That is a brilliant example of engineering a critical outcome. The hospital was dealing with a failing referral triage system that had been completely botched by a previous developer.
Wow.
And this wasn't just an administrative annoyance, it was a critical healthcare bottleneck affecting actual patient flow. C9 stepped in, rescued the project, and stabilized it by engineering highly reliable fax and HL7 integrations.
Hold on, HL7. For those of us not living and breathing healthcare tech daily, that is the universal language or standard that hospital systems use to talk to each other, right?
Spot on. It's the complex protocol that ensures sensitive patient data moves securely and accurately from one disparate medical system to another.
Got it.
By fixing that integration, the business outcome was immediate. They restored the operational flow of patient referrals. They allowed the hospital staff to focus on care rather than, fighting a broken inbox.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Then you look at something completely different, like Avo data for Avocados Australia. This is a massive agribusiness struggling with an industry-wide distribution tracking problem.
Oh, imagine trying to track the movement, sales, spoilage, and reporting of avocados across an entire continent using highly fragmented legacy
You're
systems.
talking clipboards and spreadsheets out in the muddy orchards, right?
Literally. And let's look at the mechanics of why that fails. When a grower writes down harvest data on a clipboard, that piece of paper sits in a truck for maybe 8 hours. Then it takes another 24 hours to be entered by an administrator who might easily make a typo. By the time the central office knows what produce they actually have, the data is already 32 hours old.
Which in fresh produce is an eternity.
Exactly. So C9 didn't just build a centralized database, they built a modern web solution paired with mobile apps specifically designed for field recording.
Which eliminates that 32-hour latency entirely.
It revolutionized their efficiency. Because the data entry happened at the source, instantly, logistics could route trucks in real time, reducing waste and vastly improving the supply chain.
And we see that identical pattern solving problems in the education sector. Look at One School Global. They had a highly fragmented transport network.
Oh, the school buses.
Yeah, think about the intense anxiety of parents trying to figure out where their kids' buses are, combined with the administrative nightmare of the school trying to track a fleet of vehicles.
It's a logistical nightmare. To solve that, C9 engineered a completely custom transport management system. But again, they didn't just build a dashboard for the head office.
Right.
They put in-vehicle tablets in the actual buses and built a parent-facing mobile app for real-time tracking and student attendance.
Incredible. And let's add one more to the mix. Fendley Secure and Caring at Home for Queensland Health. They were drowning in a legacy compliance burden.
The paperwork there was staggering.
Yeah, C9 completely replaced that agony with dynamic forms and mobile components, which drastically sped up service delivery to patients because the nurses weren't buried in duplicate paperwork.
Which is the ultimate goal.
Okay, so I'm noticing a very distinct pattern across all these wildly different industries, from tracking avocados to school buses to healthcare compliance. It seems like mobile apps are the recurring secret weapon.
They really are.
Are they just a flashy add-on to make the system look modern to the board, or is there a deeper strategy here?
Oh, the mobile app is often the main event. It is a highly strategic tool. Think about how modern businesses actually operate. Your workforce is
I
distributed.
mean, they aren't all sitting at desks.
Exactly. Whether they're scanning produce in a packing shed, driving a school bus, or visiting a vulnerable patient in their living room, a well-engineered mobile app connects that frontline worker directly to the core platform in real time.
It empowers the edge of the business.
It turns your frontline staff into real-time sensors for the business. It completely eliminates data silos and kills the need for double handling information. You're essentially extending the nervous system of your business right out to the fingertips of the employees doing the actual work.
But that brings us to what is arguably the most terrifying part for any executive carrying out the decision.
Right, the implementation.
Yeah, implementing these massive, enterprise-wide, nervous system-altering systems sounds incredibly disruptive.
Right.
If I'm running a successful business, my biggest, most visceral fear is that ripping out the old wiring and putting in a new system is going to just break the company while we do it.
It's a very valid fear.
How do you actually install this stuff without shutting operations down?
You avoid the big bang. The biggest mistake companies make, and a huge contributor to that 66% failure rate we discussed, is the big bang replacement.
That's the classic scenario where, on a Friday night, the IT team orders pizzas, turns off the old system, and prays.
Yep.
And then on Monday morning, everyone logs into the new system, everything looks different, and the company just grinds to a halt.
It almost always ends in tears, lost revenue, and frantic weekend rollbacks. C9 completely avoids that trap by utilizing an agile, iterative delivery approach.
Iterative meaning step by step.
Exactly. They deliver functional modules of the software in distinct stages. They show you working software early, and they deploy it incrementally.
So if we go back to our analogies, instead of bulldozing your entire restaurant while you're still trying to serve dinner to a packed house,
You seamlessly upgrade the kitchen one appliance at a time. Tonight, we install the new ovens. Next week, we upgrade the prep stations.
so the customers keep eating and you never actually miss a single order.
Perfect analogy. Look at the case study for InnerRange, a major player in the security and technology sector. They didn't start their engagement by trying to rebuild their entire global enterprise architecture.
What do they start with?
They started with a very targeted, simple content management system need. Because C9 used this phased agile delivery, The client could see that specific module working perfectly. It lowered everyone's blood pressure and built immense trust.
Because they proved the concept without betting the entire farm.
Exactly. From there, the project seamlessly expanded into a full, robust enterprise platform, incrementally adding user management, then booking systems, then complex payment gateways. It's the ultimate form of risk mitigation.
And those mobile apps we just talked about, I imagine they play a role in this phased rollout too.
Oh, absolutely. They're frequently used as the very early phases of delivery. You deploy a mobile app to the frontline staff first.
Ah, clever.
They get immediate, tangible benefits that make their daily jobs vastly easier. This builds massive internal buy-in and excitement, while C9 is quietly modernizing the heavy, complex core system in the background.
That's a great strategy.
It's about staged investment, totally transparent communication, and dedicated post-launch support. That combination is how Australian executives gain confidence and minimize operational disruption.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Let's recap the journey we've just taken through this data. We started by classifying the problem legacy systems. That 15-year-old electrical wiring, they are an invisible, silent tax on your business.
A huge tax.
Yeah, they're draining up to 80% of your IT budget just to maintain the status quo, causing staff burnout and leaving you incredibly vulnerable to agile competitors.
Then we define the problem at the executive level. The massive 66% failure rate of IT projects isn't just a technology failure. It is an executive decision-making issue where the crucial translation between business goals and technical architecture is missing.
Right, and then we looked at specifying the answer and deciding what is right. We saw through C9's case studies that technology decisions are fundamentally business decisions.
Every single time.
Whether you are dealing with healthcare triage, complex agricultural tracking, or transport logistics, the right custom platform, especially when leveraging strategic mobile apps at the edge of your network, eliminates latency, destroys bottlenecks, and connects your frontline directly to your core.
And finally, carrying out that decision doesn't have to mean enduring massive business disruption. With the right partner using agile, phased custom delivery, you can upgrade the restaurant without ever missing an order.
I love that.
You can beat those failure statistics by refusing to engage in big bang deployments. The path to modernization is entirely achievable when you follow a structured, business-first approach.
Which brings us to the most important point of this entire deep dive. Look, if you're an Australian business owner or C-level executive listening to this, and you know in your gut that your legacy tech is holding you back, it is time to take action. Reach out to C9 Australia's leading custom software, apps, integration, and database developer company. Take that low-risk first step. Book a no-obligation discovery conversation to map your specific path to efficiency and scalability.
You can find all their details, explore the case studies we discussed, and start that conversation by visiting their website at www.c9.com.au.
Yes, definitely go to www.c9.com.au. And while you are at it, please remind yourself to click the follow button on this feed and share this deep dive with any colleagues or peers who are tired of fighting with their aging IT systems. Send this to the executive who is still relying on 3 parallel spreadsheets to run their department. Let's help them get their weekends back.
I want to leave you with a final lingering thought today. We talked a lot about the invisible cost of inaction. I want you to think about your most manual, frustrating, error-prone operational bottleneck today, right now. The one that makes your staff groan and slows down your delivery.
We all have one.
Great. If a competitor launched a flawless, custom-built application tomorrow that completely eliminated that exact bottleneck, how much market share would your 15-year-old legacy system cost you by the end of the year?
Wow. Don't wait until the breaker tricks to find out. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the true cost of legacy tech. We will see you next time.